Hello, Emil. I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Do you hear me now?
I can.
And do I hear you? I might not.
You can't hear us?
Just a second. Now I think I can hear you.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, yes. Great.
Great. Hello, Matthias.
I'm switching gear. So, I mean, I'm just installing a new microphone and speaker. That's why. Okay. So we're 3 people here. Who couldn't join? I think Mauricio couldn't join, right? And neither Andreas.
And Ravi.
Ah, Ravi as well. Okay. It's been some time since Ravi was here.
Yeah, he has a conflict. I wonder if we should send a survey, maybe.
Yeah, that could maybe be
Let's see
a good idea.
if there is a better time. And there is also an overlap that happens with the best practices SIG.
Ah, there is still an overlap there. That we changed the schedule from twice a month, every second week to to twice a month. Maybe wasn't such a good decision after all. So it might be so that we should go back to having actually every second week, unless the best practices SIG will join the same schedule as we do. Or
Yeah.
we could send a call on that, I guess.
But wasn't the best practice SIG supposed to be on 2nd and 4th?
Yeah, we asked them to change to that, but apparently they haven't yet. And maybe there is some, maybe they won't. I don't know.
Yeah, it says on their README that it's on the 2nd and 4th.
It says, but
I
the calendar
also,
doesn't say. Or
yeah, the calendar is not. So
it's not
I'm.
up to date.
I will check. I mean, I can ping Christy maybe later after the meeting and ask her directly.
Yeah. And here we have Kenneth as well. Hi, Kenneth, and Tracy. Great.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Tracy.
Hey.
So Kenneth is a new guy from Ericsson, actually, who we just got to know about today. And he might join these meetings. We'll see.
Fabulous. The more the merrier.
Yeah.
Great.
We'll see. Great.
Welcome.
Should we wait for someone else, or?
I think it's 4 past.
Yeah. Let's get started.
Can get started.
Who is in this best practices here, by the way? Is it? I think Mauricio is there, right? If we should ping someone, or you said you should ping Christy, maybe.
Yeah, I think. Well, we can ask Mauricio as well. I mean, Mauricio was going to follow up on this already, the best practices. Yeah. I don't know what the latest update. We can ask him directly as well.
Okay. So they had their last meeting 8th of March, according to the the meetings minutes in best practices SIG. That's quite a while ago.
Does that sound right?
I don't know. Maybe it's not pushed to GitHub then.
That could be.
But the HackMD document says the same. Okay, whatever. Let's focus on our SIG. Yeah. So Andrea, you did some updates to the agenda recently, right? The template there.
Yes, I put a template in. So we can use it for the for these meetings. It's it's just action point from last week, updates from the SIG, updates from the work streams, and then depending on the day, if there is anything to talk about in terms of meetup conferences, blog posts, any presentation that might happen, and any PR or design discussion that we need to follow up. And if it feels like something is missing, please let me know. We can add to the template.
Yeah, sounds good. So I guess last time we thought that we today would have a presentation from Matthias on the Eiffel protocol with event linking and other related topics, but that will be on the next meeting instead. It's postponed to next occasion. So we don't have that presentation today. So the agenda for today is, I guess, quite thin. Let's go through it.
Do you want to share the ACND document, Emil, or shall I do?
Yeah, I can share it if you like. That's fine. People want. Maybe Kenneth doesn't have the link, right?
Yeah, I just added the link to the chat.
Oh, yeah, great. I can share anyway. I guess you see my sharing now, do you? Or maybe not.
No, you're sharing. Wait.
Maybe I'm not able to share through the web client that I'm using.
We see your screen.
Yeah, we see your screen here. You're
You
good.
do, you do. Okay, yeah, great.
Yeah.
I thought there was some problem there. I think there was some other day, but no, okay, it might work. Good. So I don't believe you had an APIs from last meeting, did we? Let's see here. Any action points? Ah, this one. This is an old one, which I believe was brought out. Maybe you know, Tracy, if this was brought out on the TLC meeting a while ago. We talked about licenses. I think it was stated there in the meeting minutes I saw.
You know, it was Steve Taylor chatted with him about it. I don't recall what the discussion what was really discussed, to be honest. But I do think Steve Taylor probably knows what license that the TOC was thinking about. Unfortunately, he has a customer call right now. But I can ask him to send an email or update this doc if there was a decision on it.
Yeah. Let's see if we have the. This is not updated either. There's another. They have another meeting minutes right now. Yeah, here we have it. I believe it's here. I shouldn't do that. I was trying to search, but I did the wrong thing. Go on. Here. Andrea, you were there as well when it was discussed, right?
Yes. Tried to remember as well if we came to any conclusion, but so I remember we raised the question.
Mm.
but I didn't remember get any conclusion.
I don't remember if there was a conclusion either. I was looking at the last TOC. Let me look at the,
This is from March 16th.
yeah, let me pull up the, what did it say? Let's see. So it would have been on the March 30th, right? Probably.
I think so. I think it was the last one.
I mean, no, this one.
I don't see anything from,
ECCLA maybe was related to that.
It was on the.
it just says,
on the-
yeah, it says any guy from the Linux Foundation, any OSI approved license is okay.
Yeah.
That's all they say. And then they do say that for CLAs, if we have code artifacts, we could name them and move them to a dedicated repo under CLA checks. I don't know if we're going to get to that though. We could though, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think eventually, yeah, it would be good to get like a name for a protocol and get a DNS name allocated, so we can use it in our events as well. And so we could have a repo with a website for that and pointing to the specification. But yeah, so we're still early days. I remember now another thing that was discussed as distinction between specification and standard. So I guess the point was that if as long as we do a specification, it's relatively straightforward. If you wanted to do some standard and apply for this being recognized by ISO, things like that, then it's much more complex, the process. It's not something that we considered yet, though.
And I guess before we go there, we should consider this SPDX extension, for example, or other similar initiatives that exists.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a bit premature maybe to decide on something here now for the licensing. And I guess what we do now, I mean, we only create drafts and we discuss things on GitHub. We discuss it, of course, publicly, and I'm not sure if what we discuss there is considered something that we should have licenses for those documents, those working documents that we have. But before, I guess, we release anything on this protocol, we should, of course, make sure it's licensed correctly and so on. Or does anyone think there's an urgency to decide on licensing guidance for this?
Just from a course of putting things together, it feels like if we have this stuff sorted out, we can just move forward in the direction that we feel we need to, as opposed to going back and revisiting. So I feel like it makes sense to just go ahead and make an assumption that we want to license this. I know the Dynatrace folks are pretty excited about this SIG. I'm sorry that nobody's on the call from Dynatrace today, but you know, we have some potential to work with them to bring over parts of Kepton possibly. So I feel like if we have this, our kind of our ducks in a row, it'll be easier to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the work we're doing on definitions and, you know, the protocol, I think we should have under a license, to be honest.
So how could we go about setting that then?
I guess we just have to decide on a license.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take
I-
Apache 2 then now. Or
You know, I've looked at licenses so many times and I absolutely hate this project. When I was on the Eclipse Foundation, we spent over a year writing the Eclipse license. And there's so many out there. I wish the TOC, maybe we could just ask the TOC to suggest one.
yeah, so we go back to the TOC again then and say, we don't just want to use any. Please say which
Please
one
tell
we
us.
should do.
Yeah, we want to take the easy way out.
Give us
I
guidance.
wonder- I wonder what Captain is running under.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, let me check.
What about Tecton, Andreas?
It's Apache 2.
Apache 2. Hmm.
That's what Apache 2 is what Ortelius is under.
And Eiffel is also under Apache 2.
Let me check with Captain. License. It's Apache 2. It's
Why don't
Apache
we-
2 too.
Why don't we do it Apache 2 too then?
I think we should do that. Maybe we should just put it out there and make sure everybody on this. Do we have a mailing list for this?
Yeah, we do. We
do,
almost
yeah.
So
haven't
maybe we
used it,
send
but
it
we have.
out and say, this is what we're thinking about using. Please, and maybe we can start a discussion on it. Whereas we do have discussions. I think that folks from Dynatrace would be, if Captain's under Apache 2, we should be fine then, I would think. Unless I'm not understanding anything about the Apache 2 license. It's the most open.
It's
Yeah.
rather permissive, yeah. So
There's no
I guess
nuclear
if we
bombs
would
in
like
it.
to change later on, I guess it would be possible to change to another license later on if we, even if
Yeah.
we would go for Apache 2 now.
Especially
Yeah.
if we changed anything before we actually, if we had a product that we were going to release, if we changed it then, but I'm guessing that Apache 2 is going to be fine.
Yeah, yeah. So let's
Okay.
assume that, but it's good that we should maybe present it on the mail list and say that we intend to do this.
Please let us know if we're making the wrong decision. Tell us
We
why
have
we
1
should.
week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, Emil, you probably can bring it up at the TOC, the next call, and find out if anybody there has any concerns about that. Doesn't look
Yeah,
like
we
they're
should bring it to
going
the
though.
TOC, yeah.
Yeah.
So write that as well, Andrea, then that we bring it to the next TOC meeting. Is that tomorrow or is it next week?
next week.
What is the cadence of the TOCs nowadays? Or maybe I can see it in the agenda.
It is next, it's the 27th.
Okay, so they run every second week then, not the same cadence
Yep.
as we do now.
Lucky for you, right? Makes it handy to have on the alternating weeks.
Mm.
And then I wasn't here 2 weeks ago because I had a conflict. How are we doing? Have we got anything? I haven't looked at the our shared document in a while.
There
Have we
wasn't
made
a
pretty good
meeting 2 weeks
progress?
ago. The meeting 2 weeks ago was cancelled due to the holidays.
Well, maybe that's why we don't have anything for a month, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. But I didn't miss anything. I don't feel so bad.
Yeah, okay.
And I have just on a side note, I have joined the CNCF's app delivery SIG, trying to kind of listen in on what they're working on, and they're really working on right now the definition of an application, which fits far more into the Ortelius realm than anything else that we do. because it's like, is infrastructure part of the application? What's an application package in a cloud native environment? It's no longer an MSI. What is it? Those are the kinds of discussions they're having. But I've still joined it, so so I can try to cross pollinate between us and what they're doing.
Good. So was it app delivery you said, or
App
what is the
delivery,
SIG?
yeah.
App delivery? Yeah.
And that is what has spawned the GitOps SIG.
Okay.
So I'm trying to keep on top of what is happening on the CF side of the house with some of these.
That's great.
But to be honest, the Captain has a much Captain fits better now into this event SIG than anywhere else. So I don't think they're going to try moving anything over, but I do think that Dynatrace is eager to work with us in defining, the protocols, defining the, the structure, and potentially bringing over parts of Captain if they can.
Great. So what about Andrea bringing it to the TOC as well? Should you add that as an AP then?
Yeah. Is this what you mean?
Yeah. Exactly. If you will be there, or see, if I will be there, I could take it as well, of course. I'm not sure I can.
Right.
And I know I'm bouncing, and I tend to do that. Emil, you said you thought we needed to come up with a name for a potential platform or whatever we're calling it.
I think Andrea
what
did, but anyway, yeah.
Oh, okay. What
Doesn't
are
matter.
you guys thinking? What are you thinking in the long term where this is going to go? Do you think we'll have like a listener or a control plane? Is that what we want to do? I'm just curious.
I think primarily we should have a protocol definition, a protocol itself, and that the protocol should have a name, I guess. But I also assume that we will have some kind of ecosystem around it with some tools sending and receiving those events, and maybe even other tools as well around it.
Yeah,
So
I guess we could have SDKs or something.
Yeah.
To
Right.
such.
Right.
I mean, at a transport level, if you are transported by cloud events, you can already use the cloud events SDKs to generate the events and receive the events. But you might want to have a higher layer or higher level of SDK on top to make it easier to produce events or receive events that are compliant with what we define.
I don't know if it's time now, but we had on the interoperability SIG last week. You were there, I guess, most of you. We talked about this SPDX metadata specification or standard that is there. And we should consider if this event protocol that we intend to provide should be based on SPDX somehow, or should be an extension to SPDX, or the metadata part of it exists, then the vocabulary or the, I don't know. Then of course SPDX doesn't talk too much about events as such, maybe, but the data items more, I guess.
Yes, and I hate to push it off to Steve, but he has been pretty involved in working with SPDX because we're starting to integrate with that from the Ortelius open source side. They're going to start bringing that data in and aggregating it up at an application level based on a collection of services. So I think he'll have some. He has been working with it, so I think he'll have. And Cyclone. I think Cyclone is what we're actually going to integrate with to get the SPDX information. But I think he'll have some insights in how, if there is something that we should be doing with SPDX. Certainly, we can make it easier for people to integrate or have an event that calls SPDX, that would be really good, because I don't think most people running builds right now are thinking about SBOMs too much. But in essence, that's what that's where the gap is. It's just not sexy, you know. SBOMs are critical, but
Yeah.
to be honest, they're pretty freaking boring, unless you're
Mhm.
weird and you like seeing all that data, which is kind of what I've always done.
Yeah, I think we'll have to see whether it's something that we want to include natively in the protocol, or it could be one of the attachment types to have this SPDX information when you do a build and send an event. I don't know, the build is finished. What do we want to do? You want to have the bill of materials attached as part of the events, or you want to have a link to it so that it can be downloaded or something like that.
And I think her name is Kate Stewart, would be pretty open to helping pull together some kind of an event stream for SPDX if we chose to go that direction.
Yeah, and I think we could, of course, probably leverage from what they already have in there. And I mean, if we would be made an extension somehow to the SPDX standard, we will get a lot for free, I guess. But we will also be maybe limited to what we could do a bit. But anyway, we shouldn't, of course, forget about that option. So we need to consider that in some way, and someone should in some way investigate it further, how we should proceed with SPDX.
Even
we
though
should
he's not
relate to
here,
SPDX.
I'm gonna volunteer Steve for doing that, because I know his head's already in it.
Hmm?
He's already working
Okay.
with it, so
Hmm?
he'll have a pretty strong understanding, I think, since he's
Hmm.
already got his hands in it.
Sounds perfect.
I know that last time to build with SIG, Katie has talked about that they were going to do in 3.0 work something they call pedigree and provenance.
Yep.
Yeah.
And pedigree sounded more like precisely in this area that we're doing. So I took a look at their notes, try and figure out more of it, but it sounded like they haven't really started anything there yet. But it would be kind of good to see if we can link into their discussion about it and see what they're thinking, if we can use anything there for free.
Yeah, that sounds very good.
But from my understanding, they haven't started yet.
Yeah, and I can't remember, the pedigree was the ownership and the province was the life cycle, or where it's at. Is that what they were looking at? I remember the two lines, but now I don't remember how she was describing them.
I think the pedigree was more the build and test and delivery process within a production pipeline, or whatever we call it, I guess.
So
Mhm.
kind
It
of the
sounded
life
like
cycle.
the whole CI/CD life cycle, more or less, in some sense, for one level at least, for one product or application or whatever we call it. I didn't really get to my head around exactly what were the borders of this pedigree definition, but
I thought I had it when she was talking about it. Then now you ask, I don't remember. I must have committed it to short-term memory. But I know one of them, I was like, oh, that's something that's in the life cycle. That might be something that we want to be thinking about for events. And that's as far as I got. And I know that one was ownership.
I pasted the link to her presentation, and
Nice. Thank you.
it's that page or the next one where they talk about pedigree and provenance.
There's a lot of work that went into this PowerPoint.
So which page is it, Matthias? Seems
like it should be 43 and 44.
Yeah, and 45 to and 46. There are a few slides.
So this is the pedigree, yeah? And that's all this, which is
So
That's a lot.
development release is pedigree, and upstream and downstream and so on, that is provenance.
Mhm.
so in some sense that's
Yeah.
all of it. But yeah. But do you think, Tracy, that Steve can cover for us in these discussions, or maybe even be part of, if there would be a pedigree working group set up? Do you think he could join there, or?
I think that I think because he's already got his head into it, he's a good candidate to do that.
But maybe we should be 2 people there if we have possibility.
I think that
Um,
Steve probably will start, depending on his time requirements, he may start checking in on this particular SIG or project, however it's been built out.
Yeah. Let's not push it on him, but we can ask him next time he's here.
Yeah, like I say, he's
Okay.
got his head into it, so he's working with it for Tilia, so he's just a good candidate as a resource for it. And we're going to meet with her. We have a meeting with her coming up sometime next week to chat about SPDX and Ortelius, and Ortelius storing some of this. Because remember, Ortelius is just a massive, we're a data hoard. We're storing data. We're storing metadata about deployments. And that's why he's been working with it initially to add to that data store.
Right. Great.
Okay.
Should we go on to the workstream updates? Or? Right.
All right.
Okay.
Are we done with the event updates then? I guess. So on the dictionary workstream, I don't know if there are. We had a very short meeting. Was it 2 weeks ago? Very few people ended up there. We didn't really say much more than that at that meeting, people hadn't had the time to work on any of the GitHub discussions that were put up, and neither on the pull requests. So there wasn't much to discuss actually in the meeting, I believe, I remember. So the meeting ended very, very quickly. There is a new one tomorrow, I believe. So we'll see if people have been able to do something for tomorrow.
Did you see that? Oh, sorry, go on.
No, yeah, go on.
Did you see that Eric asked the question on Slack? He had to start a discussion on how to take decisions in the vocabulary group.
Right, yeah.
I can paste it in the chat.
I remember that now.
And it looks like there's quite a bit we still have. We have still a long way to go. I'm looking at the discussion.
Hmm.
Compared to what we have in our doc. There's a lot still open. A lot of work to do, which is good.
Yeah. So I don't know if we should discuss that decision point here, that discussion, but I guess my take on it is that we could, in that work group could make some easy decisions, but then they need to be based, I guess, or presented to the SIG, I guess, and if needed, then it can of course be reverted, but we shouldn't stop the vocabulary group from proceeding by putting a strong process on them, I believe, for now. But then when the protocol is more formal, maybe, and there's whatever, a beta edition out or whatever, then we might need to have more controlled decision setting for us or something. What do you think?
I wonder about, yeah, continue, Tracy.
I was gonna say, do you think we need to just come up with a date that we want to have a first draft of this, so everybody knows that we're working towards an end goal, just for a first draft that maybe we could then present?
Yeah, that would be great if we could come up with such a date. I can't really say. It of course depends a lot on how many volunteer resources there are to do it, of course.
Which means we may need to reach out to some folks and see if they'd be willing to participate in the discussion.
And dedicate some of their time to it as well. Because I mean, personally, I have very hard time prioritizing this work in the vocabulary group. Yeah.
But hey, your policy discussion, you got a lot of good feedback on that when we pushed it out. And we do have member companies who oftentimes don't know how to get involved in some of this stuff. So I can, why don't I do this? Why don't I send, as the CDF board member rep, let me send out to the general member. The problem with the general member list is that there are a lot of marketing people on it, but I can send out to the general member list of a description of what we're working on and what kind of help we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And see if we get any takers. There may be folks from Harness that would get involved. I think there's might be folks from OpsumX that would get involved. Love to get some folks from SNCC involved. We don't see them hardly in anything. So we can do that and see if we can't get some more conversation around this. I think it'll make I think we'll be in a better place if we do that, if we can get some more voices in it.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to reach out to more people, of course. Sure, why not?
I will do that. Yeah. And if I do that, what link should I send to them? If I look at the vocabulary, where is the vocabulary?
So I think you can send them a link to what we have written until now, which is, I just put it in the chat.
Okay.
Or maybe you can start, with this.
Yep, I'll send them that.
Introduction. And then you could link, I mean, all the open discussions that we have are in here and the discussions. So
and is that public?
It should be, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I will send them that and the discussions.
Yeah.
And I think we could also go ask Roxanne to push it out on the on Twitter. That tends to get more feedback, and of course we can put it on Slack. We can put it on the general channel on Slack. So let me push it out in a few places. I'll do that today.
All right. Thanks, Tracy.
Good.
Yeah, I think with the holidays as well, we slowed down a bit. So hopefully we can start getting back to the discussion within this group as well. I had a talk to prepare as well. So yeah, there are things getting in the way of making more progress, but I think we did make progress. So hopefully we can continue. If we get more contribution, that's even better.
Yeah,
So
that's what we.
Something that I wanted to mention is that from the meeting we had, in the dictionary meeting we had, I think was on the 23rd. So the one, before this, there's some action points to create some Github discussions, and not all of them are done yet, but yeah, good amount of them are done, but there are still some pending. So we even more discussions, like the 4 key specific one, or the one about deployments and version that Alois brought up.
4 keys is created now.
Oh,
I just did it before, or an hour ago or something.
oh, that's great. I'll mark it in the. Thanks, Matthias. Sorry, I didn't mean to pick on you. Just reading
No.
through the list.
Yeah, I noticed that you linked to the GitHub version of it, not the HackMD. So you couldn't click on those links, but
Yeah, maybe I should click the HackMD one. Let me put the HackMD link in there. HackMD says I'm busy right now.
Busy showing my document now. It's very like this. Oh.
Okay.
So it's ticked. Is there a discussion topic to link to, Matthias, or?
Yep, there is. I can add it if you want to.
Seems most of the other ones have the discussion linked to them, so
Yeah, then I should add it also.
I could do it.
Okay, I guess we're probably done with the workstation updates.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I can take next session. So for meetup and conferences, I just put here a link. We will have a birds of a feather at the CDCon. So thanks, Tracy, for submitting.
Oh, you're. Yeah, it turned into birds of a feather, but that's okay. They're going to still advertise it in kind of the same way. Instead of a panel, they're just going to call it a BOF.
Yeah, I guess we called for both. I mean, I guess you requested a panel, Tracy, right? And me and Andrea also at the same time requested a birds of a feather. Yeah,
I'm not sure why they did that, but I haven't been on the CD planning meetings, because I know they only have a certain number of BOFs they're going to give out, but apparently they wanted to give the SIGs BOFs, and so they asked if we could do the BOF instead of the panel.
Yeah, I think that's no drawback, is it? I mean, we could the BOF could still be kind of a panel if we would like to.
That's exactly why they thought it would be. The difference will be the difference will be it'll be live. We won't record it ahead of time, so we can still set up questions to sort of stimulate thought and conversation, which I'm happy to do. We can still treat it like that, but everybody will be be able to chat and ask questions, and it'll be much more interactive.
Mhm.
Okay. Do we want to have some discussion about this in the next meeting, or do we want to set up a dedicated chat? Or
I
We
think
should
what we'll
start looking into topics, I think, well, what we should
Yeah.
focus on the BOF.
Yes, I think a good way to do that would be to come up with different topics, and we can treat it like a panel. I can ask the questions and try to push the conversation. If we want to, you know, we've got some time here, but if we want to start a shared Google Doc and start just thinking about the questions that we want to ask ourselves, so to speak, and then on that day, I can just basically work from the shared doc. So let me just do that really fast here. Let me just put a doc together here. And then you can just put your name on it and say, you know, here's the question that I think we should ask, or the discussion we should have.
Yeah.
I'll send a link to everybody on this.
Great.
thanks. Yeah, I guess the advantage maybe being it above is that we can do the panel-like discussion. We can have our answers, but also other people will be able to join in, and we'll have, I think, a 2 hours time slot. So we can have
Yeah,
2
we get
hours?
we get a lot more time, that's for sure. That was
Wow.
one of the, yeah, we get like,
No,
it's not a 30-minute panel anymore.
it looks like a 30-minute BOF in the schedule.
Is it?
Really?
Oh, I thought it
According
was
to the
Something
longer.
schedule.
buffs for an hour. Well, we got 30 minutes in.
Oh, that's right. Where did I see? Oh, sorry.
I thought it was an hour. I thought the buffs were an hour. Originally, they talked about them being an hour.
Maybe they changed it. Interesting. Yeah, checking the Tecton one, it's also half an hour now. Maybe it was just the initial schedule, the longer one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's half an hour, seems most of them. Most of them. Okay. Right. Any other conferences? There is the one that Fatih and Kara will talk on. The what is it? The KubeCon, right? That's quite soon. I'm not sure. Have you seen if there is any event-related talk on that conference? I haven't.
There are potential spot. I know that there's stuff that the day 0 events at KubeCon. There's still openings for that. And I'm not sure what those day 0 events, but Kate was talking about something as well, I thought, on the SPDX side.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know off the top of my head which ones that we should be looking at right now.
We can look at it until next meeting and see if we have anything we want to promote that we should listen into on the KubeCon conference.
Yeah, tomorrow I have my afternoon blocked off to look at submitting some stuff to KubeCon. if I pull together some CFPs, I'll send that email out to you guys as well. Maybe we can think about it because they happen fairly quickly. I think the KubeCon, we should try to, I think we should submit something to KubeCon. I'm not sure what.
You mean KubeCon in the autumn then? The North America KubeCon, I guess. Or...
Yeah, I think that closes in maybe the beginning of May.
Okay.
So we should submit something for that. I don't know if we should submit a panel or if we should have one of you submit something. I really don't know. I've never been successful at getting talks accepted at KubeCon. But that doesn't mean we wouldn't be able to. It just means I haven't been able to. So I don't know what we should. The reason why I phrase it that way is because since I have not been successful, I can't even think what we would pitch, unless we just have KubeCon's not until October. If we try to get our, if we say we want to have our initial draft of our vocabulary done by end of third quarter, that gives us quite a bit of time. We could present the first draft of the vocabulary, and that might get accepted. I don't think I'm the person that should be presenting that, though. Do one of you guys want to step up and potentially submit a talk for KubeCon?
Sure. Well, we can discuss. I mean, I could do that. I usually submit to KubeCon. But, we can talk to Mauricio as well. I don't know if he's interested or, well.
So it closes Sunday, May 23rd.
Do you have a link to this? And the.
Here, I'll send this off. I just dug it up. Oops.
It's in the chat.
Awesome.
Right. Conference.
We could, I mean, we could make it easy. I could submit the same panel discussion that we did for CDCon. But I think just one of us presenting the results of the vocabulary work we've done will probably be one that's going to be have a better chance to get accepted. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at the tracks. And there is a CI/CD track.
And there, because Captain is part of it, we could actually potentially list that as one of the open source projects that we will be discussing. That sometimes gives us a little better chance to get in. God, they've got a lot of projects.
Indeed.
It's ridiculous.
One thing with this KubeCon is they say we will not select a submission that has already been presented at its previous CNCF or Linux Foundation event within the last year. If your submission is similar to previous talk, please include information how this version will be different.
Well, we will not, since we've only been, we'll only have a bit of BOF. We'll have done no talk. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And because it's not until we're talking about October, we should have a pretty decent vocabulary by then, you would think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, though, for sure there would be something to be discussed by October. I mean, we might have some demo as well too. That's what I would be hoping for. If we manage to set up some POC based on this protocol, that would be something interesting to present, especially if we do that with one of the projects that is in the under the CNCF. That would be a good thought to submit for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It could be hard to say now already if we submit something now and say that we will have it, but sure, we might have it. And we can present whatever we have at that time.
I think we'll have something by then.
Yeah.
But if we're going to do it, we got to get it submitted because we can't. Well, we have a month to get something submitted for that.
Yeah. I think there is a month, so we could still discuss it.
Yep.
Next meeting, maybe also with a wider audience, and see if we want to try the panel, or we can have multiple submissions as well. So I mean, we can try to have a few, and hopefully one of them will be accepted, so that we get some kind of representation from the group.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, I think we only have 3 minutes left. So if there is anything that we missed in the discussion, otherwise, maybe we could close it here for today. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Oh, there's something I wanted to mention. So I've seen, I think Gabe is her name. She's on vacation. So hopefully when she's back, we'll get some updates about the recording from these meetings. So all these meetings are being recorded, but they're not available on YouTube yet, but they will be, and also the older ones. So just wanted to mention this. Okay.
Good. Okay, yeah, so thanks all.
Okay, thank you guys.
Yeah,
Thank
some of you tomorrow maybe in the vocabulary meeting, and the rest in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.